Ever wonder why some companies seem to sail through a crisis while others just crumble? Well, a lot of the time, the answer isn't about their product. It's about their blueprint, their organizational structure. It's kind of like the invisible architecture that decides if a company is going to be rigid and fragile or flexible and ready for anything. Today, we're digging into how you build a business that can bend, not break. And to really get this, we're going to follow the story of Claudia Sampedro, the former president of the fast food chain Sonic. Her experience leading the company through a truly unprecedented crisis, well, it gives us the perfect real-world lens for a topic that can sometimes feel a little abstract. So, here's the bottom line. A company's structure isn't just some boring org chart about who reports to whom. No. It's about how information moves, how fast decisions get made, and how quickly the entire organization can pivot when the world basically changes overnight. It is literally the difference between survival and failure. All right, let's start with our case study, the one and only American drive-in, Sonic. So picture this. The 2020 pandemic hits. All of a sudden, Sonic's drive-in model wasn't just convenient, it was a lifeline. But that advantage wasn't a given. Leadership still had to get thousands of locations on the same page, rolling out new safety rules and a mobile payment system like right now. Their entire structure was put to the ultimate test. But to really get how a company like Sonic could move so fast, we first have to ask a bigger question. Where did this whole idea of how to run a company even come from in the first place? You know that feeling, right? You're stuck in some customer service loop, and the employee has to say, I gotta get my manager's approval for that. That feeling of hitting a brick wall, that's usually a direct result of a very classic and very old way of designing a company. And there's a name for that: bureaucracy. An early thinker named Max Weber actually thought this was a super rational way to run big organizations. Clear rules, clear procedures. But as companies got bigger and bigger, this model often became the slow, clunky machine that made it really hard to react to new challenges or what customers actually wanted. And this right here, this is the classic picture of it all, the organizational pyramid. This is the blueprint that pioneers like Henri Fayol came up with. The goal was super simple: create order with a clear chain of command, where all the power and information flowed straight from the top down. Fayol's principles, honestly, have shaped companies for over a century. You've got key ideas like unity of command, one boss for every worker, no confusion, a clear hierarchy, so everybody knows who they report to. He also talked about esprit de corps. Sounds fancy, right? It's French for creating a shared spirit of pride and loyalty. These were the real building blocks for the modern corporation. So, how do these classic ideas actually fit in today? Well, modern leaders still use these principles, but they have to make some really big choices about how they build their companies. The first huge choice is all about power. Do you centralize it, keeping all of the big decisions at the very top? Or do you decentralize it, pushing that power down to the people who are closest to the customers in the action? And this really shows the trade-off. Centralization gives you amazing control over your brand, but decentralization, that lets your local teams adapt. McDonald's is a perfect example. The main brand is super controlled, right? But a decentralized approach is why a restaurant in China can sell a taro pie, something made just for local tastes. You can see how a chain like Sonic with thousands of drive-ins would need that kind of local flexibility. Okay, the next big choice is about the company's shape. Is your organization tall, with tons of layers of management between the CEO and the frontline workers? Or is it flat, with way fewer layers and each manager overseeing a wider group of people? A flat structure can move at lightning speed. Information just zips around and decisions get made without having to go up a huge chain of command. This is exactly why some tech giants like Meta have been flattening their organizations to cut through the red tape and speed things up. The only downside? Fewer rungs on the ladder if you're looking for a promotion. Okay, because the business world is just getting faster and faster, companies have had to cook up new models that go way beyond that simple pyramid. So let's take a quick tour of these more dynamic structures. First up is the line and staff model. This basically keeps the old school chain of command but adds specialist staff departments, think HR or the legal team. This way, you get expert advice without making it confusing who reports to who. You get the expertise without losing the clarity. Then you have the matrix organization, which is huge in creative fields where it's all about projects. Here, an employee might report to their department boss and a project manager. It's super flexible, super adaptive, but it can get messy. You know the old saying, if you have two bosses, you really have none? And finally, in our totally networked world, you have the rise of the virtual corporation. This is a super lean company that focuses only on what it does best, and it outsources everything else. Think of a clothing brand that designs everything in-house, but then outsources the manufacturing, the shipping, even the marketing. It's like a web of partners built for pure speed and adaptability. Now, what's really underneath a lot of these new models is one powerful trend: the rise of cross-functional teams. These are small groups of people from all different parts of the company who are brought together and empowered to solve problems and make decisions on their own. It just dramatically boosts speed and innovation. So, what does this all mean for building a company that can handle any storm? What's the big takeaway from this whole evolution of how we organize ourselves? If there's one principle, one word that matters most today, it's adaptability. Seriously, look no further than Netflix. It started by mailing DVDs in those red envelopes. A rigid company would have died with that technology, but an adaptable one, it pivoted to streaming, and then pivoted again to producing its own content, and became this global powerhouse. And one of the most powerful models for that kind of adaptation is the inverted structure. It flips that old pyramid completely on its head. So now the frontline workers, the people who are actually talking to customers every day, they're at the top. And the job of managers and executives, it becomes really simple. Support those teams so they can do their best work. And this brings us right back around to Sonic. Their success during the pandemic wasn't just because of some command from the top. It was because their structure empowered franchisees and team members in 3,500 different locations to adapt and solve problems on the ground fast. That is the power of a modern, resilient organization. So we'll leave you with this final thought. Take a look at your own organization, whether you're leading it or just working in it. Is its structure kind of a relic, designed for a stable, predictable past? Or is it flexible, adaptive, and empowered, truly ready for whatever the future throws at it?